News Political Editor Andrew Clennell now. Andrew, I mean, it is right to say that if you wander through Kingston or Monica on a night time of a sitting week there in Canberra, you are likely to run into all sorts of groups, faction groups, having dinner, tossing around policy ideas, etc. But is there more to it on this one, do you think, when it comes to this Otis Group?
Yes, there is, I believe, Ashley. I think there's a split in the right of the Labor Party, in the national right and the New South Wales right, and it's being spearheaded by Joel Fitzgibbon, who wants more action on coal. Now, the funny thing about this Otis Group is the original dinner on this, even though they decided to call themselves the Otis Group, wasn't at the Otis restaurant. It was at a place called Kokomo's in Civic. But despite the fact they were at Kokomo's, and this was a Sunday before the first sitting week of Parliament a week and a half ago, they've decided to call the group the Otis Group. But it seems not everyone who attended this dinner, but some Labor sources are telling me, knew that this group was going to be set up there, so they're not that happy that their names are being associated with it. But there's no doubt in my mind that there is a split between Joel Fitzgibbon, Don Farrell on one side, and the likes of Tony Burke, Richard Marles on the other, who are more sort of Albanese right-wingers, if you like. Fitzgibbon's friends with Albanese, so it's kind of complicated, but there's no doubt he wants to see more action on coal, and I guess he wants this ginger group, he wants a bit of support around him on it so that it can take effect in party room. We've heard too about email correspondence complaining about question time tactics. I'm also sure that's occurred, and I've got no doubt, as Trudy said, that the Prime Minister will be making hay with this in question time in a couple of hours.
Yeah, he'll be enjoying having the focus on the other side of politics through change. We have seen these reports that Joel Fitzgibbon was hauled into Anthony Albanese's office. As you say, I mean, they've known each other for a long time, they're friends, but is that something that we should read too much into? I mean, for Anthony Albanese, it's not a good look, of course, for him to have this all erupt on the last day of this fortnight of sitting.
Well, he definitely called him in. Now, Albanese's are around the place trying to downplay it, but from my understanding, he's been furious at this, or I guess his supporters would say disappointed, because all the focus has been on coalition division, and it's been a pretty good couple of weeks for Labor on that front, and the government's been flailing a bit. Now on the last day before a week off, you've got this situation where the focus moves to Labor division, and of course a lot of the division is on that issue, that third rail, climate change, coal, on both sides of politics. And you know, it's obviously not just the Queensland Nats versus the moderate Libs on this one. It's the very New South Wales right split over it, in fact.
And when you talk about the Queensland Nats, do you see this LMP party room idea getting up at any point?
Well, not at the moment, but I was interested to see Matt Canavan there to Tom Connell not rule it out. I thought that was very interesting indeed, because what I hear, Ashley, is that at the branch level, there is a hell of a lot of support in Queensland for this. They'd like to see this. They think it's very confusing, members of the party and supporters, that you vote for the LNP in Queensland and yet it's Liberals or Nationals at the federal level. It's very confusing for the voters. They see it that way. But the big hold on it, I guess, and there'd be 23 members of the LNP party room if they were part of the government here, as opposed to 21 Nationals. The big hold is a reluctance by Liberals. Liberals want to remain in the Liberal Party. That's what stops it. I guess Lou O'Brien's defection, if you like, him calling himself an LMP MP and coming out of the Nationals party room, has added more fuel to the fire for an issue that's been going a couple of years now.
I think there'll be more than a few MPs are in Canberra pretty relieved to get on planes and back to their electorates this afternoon after the sitting week that we've seen. Andrew, before we let you go, let's talk about coronavirus. We've just had this big information dump from China, essentially, 242 new deaths in the Hubei province. We heard the Chief Medical Officer a couple of days ago pointing out that the data we're getting out of China has been pretty sketchy at best, essentially, and that has been one of the big problems in terms of the way that this is all being managed. We know the China travel ban decision will be announced this afternoon. The National Security Council of Cabinet meeting at 4 o'clock, and then we are likely, we understand, to hear from the Prime Minister after that. What do you think the outcome is going to be? Those in the tourism sector I've spoken to who've been watching this closely are saying they expect it'll be extended. What they're watching for is the messaging. They're saying, is it going to be another fortnight ban? Is it going to be longer this time? They want to know what level of containment is going to be necessary in China to get travel started again, and they're wondering at what point we'll see pragmatism really kick in.
My expectation on this, Ashley, is that this afternoon there will be an extension of the travel ban, and that will be for 14 days. And the plan at the moment is to go 14 days at a time. So not go for a month ban, 2 months, whatever. It'll be 14 days. I expect the Prime Minister to announce that. Obviously, it has to go through NSC first. Yeah, it has real effects on the economy and indeed the surplus. And I went on Sunday Agenda and said a surplus was unlikely, both in 1920 and 2021. Since then, speaking to a few people, they've suggested I temper my language a little because they believe that were this ban to come off, for example, there would be a surplus in both years, that some of the figures received this week by the government have been healthy. So it's all down to this travel ban, whether they get a surplus, most likely. And if the ban were to last the rest of the financial year, which, let's face it, could happen, yeah, you're probably saying goodbye to your surplus. That's the situation we're at. Of course, the surplus doesn't matter as much as the economy. And the real dire effects on the economy, in the education sector, the tourism sector, if it were to go all year, that would be very bad indeed, even if it were to go the rest of the financial year. But at the moment, the Prime Minister is obviously putting the security and safety of citizens ahead of the economy, and I think most Australians would agree with that, and I think we'll see another demonstration of that this afternoon with his announcement.
Andrew Clennell, live for us in Canberra. Appreciate your insights. And